Let's bring in former Assistant Treasury Secretary for Public Affairs and the host of the Monica Crowley podcast, Monica Crowley. I was struck by the sacred network because, again, their higher power is political power, and they pray at the altar of self and the Democrat Party. But what is more disturbing is they think they're right. They think they're morally superior, and anybody who doesn't agree with them deserves to be taken out. And that's what's so frightening, because they got their eyes set on RFK and Trump.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And in fact, I have a column coming out in Human Events tomorrow on this very issue. As horrifying as this whole spectacle is, it's actually very clarifying for the American people to see that these people are professional propagandists, and their fealty, their loyalty to leftist ideology trumps everything else, including a desire to expand their audience and their revenue share. Because NBC, what they're telling you here is that they are willing to write off half of the country, more than half of the country, that is America First, that supports Donald Trump, over to 75 million voters last time around. They simply don't care. They're willing to write that off. So it shows you that the ideology and their political viewpoint and agenda literally drives everything, and that they will not countenance a single Republican. I mean, God forbid they have one single dissenting voice on any of their NBC platforms, right? They will not have it. The other point is, this is the inmates running the asylum.
Yes.
So they're prominent anchors like Rachel Maddow and the others who took to the air to complain that their bosses hired a single Republican. They didn't do it in private like professionalism would dictate. They didn't go to the bosses and say, I have some real concerns here. What are we going to do about this? No, they went on the airwaves, show after show, anchor after anchor, and laid it all bare publicly because they wanted their leftist viewership, all 10 of them, to rally to the cause and put pressure on the bosses to terminate this contract, which in fact they did.
We mentioned all 10 of their viewers. They would expand their viewership if they had a well-rounded group of people participating on their network, because other people might come in, to your point, and watch their really lame shows that are on right now. But I think it's interesting. I think it's something bigger than this. I think they don't want conservatives on their network because their ideas are so weak. If their ideas are challenged by conservatives and strong conservatives, I think they're afraid of that. That's why they cannot let Donald Trump on their airwaves, because when they did in 2016, he actually won their viewers. His message was so common sense.
Yeah, and you know, they're masters of projection. So they're always accusing Donald Trump or the GOP or America Firsters of what they themselves are guilty of. So they were accusing Trump of being a liar. They were accusing Ronna McDaniel of being a liar. When these people have perpetuated lie after lie, hoax after hoax, from the Russia hoax to the Fine People hoax to the 2 fake impeachments to January 6th, all of it, they perpetuated these lies on their airwaves all day, every day, for years on end, to the great detriment of America. COVID too.
Both Donald Trump and Biden will be in New York City tomorrow. President Trump is set to attend the wake of slain New York Police Department officer Jonathan Diller. That's out on Long Island. And Biden, as Karine Jean-Pierre so eloquently said today, has very important plans with very important people, his former boss and Hillary's husband.
We understand the importance of the 3 of them being together. Obviously, this is going to be an important event. Look, these are presidents, 2 former presidents, the current president, that believe in what we're trying to do in the Biden-Harris administration, trying to move this country forward, trying to make sure we're protecting our democracy, protecting our freedom, building an economy that leaves no one behind. And I think that's what the most important here.
Standing shoulder to shoulder with the blue in honor of a fallen officer, are standing next to Bill Clinton, begging for money.
And you know who else is going to be there at that fundraiser? Lizzo, Queen Latifah. I mean, all kinds of celebrities. Guys, this comparison, this is one of those indelible images that could actually help win the election for Donald Trump. In addition to the wide open border and the National Guard being overrun and all of this, you're getting indelible images that put the choice between Trump and Joe Biden into bold relief. It's also reminiscent of the final days of the 2016 campaign, where Donald Trump was hustling for every single vote in Wisconsin and Michigan and Pennsylvania and Ohio, and Hillary Clinton was partying up a storm with Beyonce and Jay-Z. The American people do not like that, and they said, you know what, we're going to take a chance on the guy who is championing me, the forgotten men and women. That same comparison holds true today.
To quote Rudy Giuliani, weddings are optional, funerals are mandatory.
Correct.
All right, let's move to this because President in China, Xi Jinping, is busy courting American business leaders. As China's economy is losing steam, executives from Bloomberg, Qualcomm, Blackstone, and FedEx were all represented in meetings today in Beijing. And as trade tensions between the U.S. and China grow, so do concerns over the Chinese investments here at home. So, I mean, Monica, what do you make of this? Again, business leaders going over to China, still trying to look for their paths to invest in the communist nation, obviously not looking out for the well-being of the U.S. and the U.S. economy.
Yeah, this comes on the heels of a similar meeting with top tech gurus and CEOs that happened back in November when Biden was in China as well. So this is a similar kind of meeting. Look, the Chinese economy is faltering right now, and a lot of it is that they're pushing in a lot of stimulus into the economy to try to stabilize it. They want that 5 to 7% growth that they have not had recently. And also the Chinese massive real estate sector is a huge drag on their economy. So their economy is not nearly as strong as they would like everybody to believe. So they are desperate for foreign investment, including U.S. investment. But a lot of U.S. companies are very wary, as they should be, about the great uncertainty of investing in China. There is no rule of law. It's still a hybrid economy, but it's a command economy coming from Beijing. So you've got a lot of skeptical business leaders in the United States who are saying, you know what, maybe I've thought about China in the past, but for the cheap labor and so on, but not so much anymore. You also have big companies like Apple gradually moving out of China for labor, say, in the Philippines or in India. They're coming out of China. So the Chinese are seeing this, and they're increasingly desperate to try to get an infusion. Whereas the U.S. and the Europeans will be less likely to invest in China. You have a lot of folks in the Middle East, including Saudi Arabia. Aramco, the big Saudi energy giant, is investing in China. So it's sort of counterbalanced by other forces. But the U.S., a lot of U.S. businesses very, very wary about it, as it should be.
And if Donald Trump wins, he's threatened tariffs on China?
More tariffs. Let's go.
Monica Crowley, always great to see you. Check out the Monica
too.
Crowley podcast. It's awesome. Thanks for being with us live and in person.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you.